Good afternoon, y'all. I'm actually fighting the sun at this point, but I just wanted to make a quick video talking about how to fly with a baby. Luna, we just got back from Portland and it was an awesome trip. Super tired still. We slept like 3 hours in the middle of the day just trying to get back onto our schedule. But I wanted to make this video once Luna had been on several flights, so that way I can really like key down on what some really good tips are. And on this trip, Luna's been on about 20 airplane rides, so I figured that was a good amount for me to really be able to let you guys know on some really good tips on how to fly with a baby. So let's get into the video. So my first tip is pack only what you really need. So we tend to overpack just in general. We as people tend to overpack, and overpacking literally just makes everything so much more complicated. So Zach and I have learned to just be very minimal and pack only what we utmost need. So we as parents have a tendency of like, oh, what if, but most of the times those things don't happen. So you might not need 3 or 4 or 5 different outfit changes for a 4-hour flight. You get what I'm saying? So Zach and I will usually pack what's in our diaper bag, and I'll link that down below. What's in our diaper bag with maybe 1 or 2 extra diapers or something like that, as opposed to having an entire bag with everything you could possibly need under the sun. So packing very minimally will not only help you be able to dig through stuff a lot easier, but you're not hauling around 1,000,001 different things. Going along with that tip, whatever you don't need on the plane, put it in your bag that you're checking in. It makes everything so much easier. You're not worrying about this extra bag or what is in it or what isn't in it. So whatever you don't need on the plane, check it in your check-in bag, and you don't have to think about it until you're picking it back up again. My next tip is bring snacks. Snacks makes everything better. So bring snacks, not only for you, but also for your baby. Bananas work really well. Sometimes oranges, or just like any kind of small fruit really works perfectly fine when you're on the plane. I've got a lot of questions as to what can and can't come on the plane. It really depends. Because we've gotten certain things on the plane before, which other airports wouldn't have allowed. So it really all depends on where you're flying out of and where you're flying into. We like to bring dates because they're really calorically dense, like for us as snacks, because that'll hold you over. Like 4 or 5 dates will hold you over on a plane ride. Again, it all depends on how long you're flying for, and where you're flying into. So just be aware of those things and then bring your snacks accordingly. My next tip is be the last one on the plane. We have no idea why people love being like the first person on the plane. That to me is just an awful idea. You want to be the last person on the plane so you have the least amount of weight just sitting there. So every time we fly everywhere, we wait until we're the last people to possibly be on the plane. Because Luna's she's gonna be agitated being in that one seat regardless, so why put extra time there for no reason? You know, so we wait until everybody's on the plane, and you know, we talk to the flight attendant people and say like, okay, just let us know, so that way we can just like go in and sit down and we could start leaving. And they're usually really nice about it, because again, most people don't want a baby on the plane for that long anyways, so it works out perfectly. Change diapers before getting on the plane. This is something that I learned after like my second time flying with Luna. Changing a diaper on a plane is awful. Going to the bathroom on the plane is awful, much less if you're trying to change a baby's diaper. So right before getting on, go in, change the diaper, do any of those kinds of routine things before getting on the plane that you really know you're not going to have that much space to do. So changing a diaper is key to a much smoother ride once you're on the plane. And if you are able to breastfeed, I find that feeding while taking off is just perfect. If at all possible, this is a very if, you can try to schedule when nap times are, that really works out for us. We've been super lucky that Luna has fallen asleep every single plane ride we've ever gone on. So what I do is I kind of time it to where we have a lot of playtime in the airport, and we're doing all kinds of stuff, and we're reading books, so that way she's really using up all that energy. So that way, once we get on the plane, like I said, we're always the last people on. So once we get on the plane, we're about to take off, I go to nurse her, and she'll usually fall asleep. Our flights are typically between 2 and 4 hours, so that's like perfect time for her to fall asleep. And sometimes she'll fall asleep, wake up, and then just go back to sleep. We've been very, very lucky in the fact that she falls asleep during all airplane rides. But I think that nursing has a lot to do with it. If you don't nurse, then a bottle. And if maybe your baby's not hungry, maybe like a noonie or a pacifier. Just because I read a lot about how, you know, usually for adults you chew gum so that your ears will pop when you're on the plane, and so I think that has a lot to do with it too. She's never had any sort of ear aches due to flying, and I could really attest that to us, to me breastfeeding her every time that we get on the plane. Walk around when you can. So depending on the flight and depending on the turbulence, they'll let you have some free time to walk around the plane, and this is the time that you want to take to give them a moment to kind of change the scenery for your baby, because they get bored too, you know, and nobody likes sitting in a spot for that long. So just kind of walking around, changing the scenery, go all the way to the back of the plane, all the way to the front, and that'll just give them a little bit of change of environment that they really need, especially if it's a longer flight. Of course, bring books and toys for your baby, whatever it is that their favorite toys are, and hoping that they're not too much of noisemaker, just to be courteous to everybody else. Try to bring those things. Luna loves her little Halloween books, so that's usually what we pack with us, and some softer dolls, just in case if she does throw them around, they're not gonna like knock anybody out. She has a lot of wooden toys, and I figured that that probably wouldn't have been the best idea, because she does like throwing her toys around. And so I brought more so her softer little stuffed animals and dolls, just because now that I'm thinking about it, she threw it across and it did land on some guy's lap, and I'm really glad that it wasn't a wooden one. So yeah, bringing toys and books, whatever it is that they like at home, bring it on the plane so that they have that sense of comfort with them. Bring a baby wrap if you can. Hauling around a stroller in the airport just does not sound like a fun idea to me. I've always had Luna in a baby wrap, so it just frees your hands, first of all. I've flown several times with just me and Luna, and trust me, having an extra thing to carry around is just not fun at all. So kind of goes along with what I had said initially, just having everything as minimal as possible really helps out with your mindset when you're flying around with a baby. My last and final tip is reorganize your essentials while on the plane. So if you're boarding, and you know, if you're at the airport and you're boarding, have your ID and boarding pass ready. Do not lose those things. So crucial. Don't lose those things at the last minute. That's just, no, just don't do that. So have those handy, but not out. Maybe like a smaller bag that you carry like on your body is really helpful for that. Reorganize things in order of necessity. So you might not need that extra pair of socks for your baby as crucially as, let's say, diapers and wipes. So in your bag, do an order of hierarchy of necessities, and that'll just go, it'll make everything go so much smoother than if everything's just kind of jumbled up in the bag. That is it for today. Those are my tips on how to fly with the baby. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.